Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Kuli English Podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So today I want to talk to you about superstitions. And what is a superstition? A superstition is a belief that if you do something or if you see something, it'll bring you good or bad luck. And a lot of these things, it's not actually true. Like, it's not proven to actually work. But that's just kind of how superstitions are. It feels a little bit like magic, but not all the way like magic. Let me give you an example. So there's something called a rabbit's foot. And a rabbit's foot is actually the foot of a rabbit, the foot of a bunny. And people would make a charm out of that. So they make a necklace out of that, and then they wear it around their neck. And the rabbit's foot is supposed to be a good luck charm. So this is kind of like a superstition. But it's not magic, okay? Superstitions are different from magic. So magic is like the extreme case. So if I told you like this good luck charm, I wear it, and then it gives me superpowers or lets me control the weather or something like that, then that's magic. That's not superstition. Superstitions are a bit more vague. It's like, oh, if I wear the rabbit's foot, I'm gonna be lucky. So then, like I'm gonna go and maybe I'll like fall into a hole, but then I'm not going to get hurt, and it's because of the good luck charm. So that's kind of like a superstition. Again, these things are really hard to prove, and it's also really hard to disprove. It's hard to prove that it's not true. But the most important part is superstitions just feel good. And so for me, I'm very like science oriented. So like I grew up a lot of my life studying science all throughout like college and even after college and stuff like that. But I also have things that I do, which I noticed recently, right? Because I was preparing for this podcast. I noticed that there are actually a lot of things that I do that are a little bit superstitious. And it's not that I like believe that it's going to bring me good luck, but it's just like I'm used to it. And I do it because it doesn't really hurt, or I do it because it makes me feel good. And if nothing happens, like that's what I expect. And it just becomes part of culture. Because realistically, a lot of superstition comes down to culture. So let's talk more about this, but after a short little break. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some really common superstitions. So I went ahead and looked up a couple superstitions, and all of these things, if you ask anyone who grew up in the US, they'll definitely know all of these. But the first one is Friday the 13th. So Friday the 13th is a special day, and it means the 13th as in like in a month, it's the 13th day. And if it happens to be a Friday, then it's a Friday the 13th. And, let's try to take a guess here. So if you don't already know what Friday the 13th is, like try to think about, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? And, if we think about Friday, well, Friday is like the last day of the work day, last day of the work week. So it's before the weekend, and the weekend is like the best thing ever because we don't have work, we don't have school, and we can, go play, go hang out, just relax. But actually, Friday the 13th is a bad day. And it's not entirely like because of the Friday, it's because of the 13. So 13 is like a really unlucky number. And why is 13 an unlucky number? Well, there's a bunch of history for that, and it was actually pretty cool to read into that. But some of these stories are religious in origin, so it has to do with like Christianity as well as some other religions too. But let me just give a couple examples that don't have anything to do with religion, and then we can move on. So 13, why is 13 an unlucky number? Well, if you look at the number of months in a year, you just have 12 months, right? So January up until December, there's no month number 13. So it's like, oh, why is 13 here? So 13's like looking kind of bad. And not only that, but if you look at the clock has like 12 hours, right? If you're looking at an analog clock, so not a digital clock like an Apple Watch, but an analog clock, like the one that it's a podcast, so you can't really see it, but the one that I have on my wrist, it's an analog clock, and you have 12 numbers. So what is the 13? The 13 is unlucky. So, anything that doesn't fit into our world, it's bad. So Friday the 13th is a very unlucky day. And then also there's also a lot of influence from like horror movies and stuff. So there's actually a horror movie called like Friday the 13th. And then in a lot of other horror movies, like when bad things happen, it's usually something to do with the number 13. So maybe on like the 13th floor of a hotel, or, like the 13th box that we open or something like that. Like it's the poor number that everyone associates with bad things. So Friday the 13th is a bad day. It's unlucky. I don't really believe it, but that's the reputation that Friday the 13th has. And let's talk about another superstition. So black cats. So black cats are considered bad. And I feel bad for all the black cats because they're just normal cats, right? And they just happen to be black. But if a black cat crosses your path meaning like you're walking along and then the cat also is walking along the same place that you're walking along, ooh, that's bad luck. That means a black cat has crossed your path. It's a bad omen. It means you're going to have bad luck. And I don't really know where this came from, but I'm guessing it probably comes back to when people believed in witches, which is like, over 300 years ago. And now we know that there is no such thing as witches. But black cats are still, they kind of have a bad reputation. And it's kind of sad because I love cats. I love all animals. And black cats, brown cats, white cats, whatever. They're all cute to me. But anyways, let's move on. So there's another one. And this one is walking under a ladder is considered bad luck. And this one's kind of interesting because, like, the other two, the Friday the 13th thing and the black cat, like, I didn't actually agree with it. But walking under a ladder does seem like a bad idea to me. Like, what if the ladder falls and then you get hit? So it's a bad thing. It's not only bad luck, it's just like, actually a little bit dangerous is what I was thinking. And so I looked into this. And there's a bunch of stories for this, but let me actually give you an explanation that I made up, which is not true, but I think it makes a lot of sense if this were true. So, the way that this was invented, by the way, I made this up, so it's not true, but the way that this became like a big thing was a long time ago, there was like a house. And then in the house, there's a grandma, and there's a grandpa, and there's a kid. And the kid is just like a stupid kid and just doesn't listen to anything. Like, rah, rah, I want to play. And then, the grandpa has to take care of like the house's roof. So like the grandpa has to climb up the ladder and go onto the roof and clean out some garbage all the time. And he's always climbing up the ladder. And then, you know what he does when he climbs up the ladder? He always tells the kid, "Don't you come near me, okay? It's dangerous here. The ladder might fall. It's going to fall on you and you're going to get hurt." And the kid's like, "I don't care. Sorry, I did the wrong voice. The kid's like, "I don't care. I don't care." And then, then the grandparents are worried. Okay, they're worried that the kid is going to play around the ladder and then the ladder is going to fall and it's going to hurt the kid. So then the grandma comes up with an idea, and the grandma's like, "Come here, kiddo." And then the grandma tells the kid, it's like, "Listen, if you walk under the ladder, you're going to have bad luck for a long time. So don't do that." And then the kid's like, "Oh no, I'm actually scared." And then so that's how they scare the kid into not going under the ladder. And this is not just a superstition. It's kind of like a cautionary tale. So cautionary means kind of like a warning, and a tale means like a story. So it's like a warning story. You tell the kid like a story, and it's like not true, but it makes the kid do stuff that's supposed to be safe. So you don't want the kid to play under the ladder, so you make up some story. It's like, if you dance under the ladder, you're going to have bad luck for 17 years or something like that. And then the kid's like, "Oh no." And so, I think actually this is just good advice. So you shouldn't walk under ladders. I don't believe that it's actually bad luck, but I think it's just a bad thing to do. Because if the ladder falls, it sucks. By the way, there's actually a real story to that in terms of why it came to be, but it's kind of a long story and I'm not going to talk about it. So let's talk about this last one. So the last one is one of my favorite ones, and it's a lucky penny. So in the US, a penny is 1 cent. Okay, so it's like 100 of these pennies equals $1. And it's the smallest amount of money that you can have, like 1 cent. It's the smallest amount of cash that you can have. And if you happen to find a penny while you're walking, and you're just walking along and you find a penny, and the penny is heads up meaning that there's two sides to the penny. One side is a head and the other side is tails. If the head side is up, and the head it's a head of Abraham Lincoln. He's one of the most famous presidents in American history. And if Abraham Lincoln's head is coming up and is facing up, then that means you're going to have a lucky day. Okay, so if you find a penny and it's heads up, it's a good luck charm. It means you're going to have good luck for a day, or I don't know, a couple days. No one wrote down the rules, so it's not even true, but it's good luck. And then what happens if you find the penny but it's not heads up, and so it's tails side up? And on the tails side, there's no Abraham Lincoln. There's like a picture of some building, and if it's tails side up, you don't actually get good luck. You just get nothing. So it's not bad luck either. Okay, so if it's heads up, you get good luck. If it's tails up, you get nothing. And in both cases, so if you find a penny and it's heads up or tails up, you get a little bit richer. And this is just true because, you get 1 cent more. So however much money you had plus 1 cent, that's your new amount of money. So the lucky pennies are a really cute thing. And if you watch like American TV shows, like cartoons or something, like sometimes you'll see stuff where like the main character is walking along, and then at least I'm thinking of one in particular, like Fairly Odd Parents, and like the main character is walking along and he finds a lucky penny and it's heads up and it's like, okay, now I'm lucky. So then the whole day a bunch of lucky stuff happens, like maybe they're about to get bullied by some bully, but instead the bully messes up and they hurt themselves, and then the main character is like, yay, it's all good. So anyways, I think the lucky penny's a pretty cute thing. Anyways, let's take a short little break here, and then we'll continue with a real life story about my experience with some superstition. Okay, so we talked a little bit about common superstitions that most people probably know. And if you know anyone that grew up in the US, definitely feel free to ask them, like, hey, have you heard about this? Is it true that, like, black cats are, like, supposed to be bad luck or something like that? Like, feel free to check in with them and you might have some interesting conversations. But now I want to tell you about my own experience coming across, like, superstition stuff. And I have a lot of different stories, but I had to just pick one for the podcast. So let me tell you about how I went to Yokohama Chukagai, which is like the Chinatown in Yokohama. So in like the Japan, Tokyo area, Chinatown, there's a really famous Chinatown in Yokohama, and I highly recommend it. It's a great place. They have like really nice Chinese food, and they have a lot of like kind of very Chinese style buildings. It's a nice place to just kind of hang out, I think, if the weather's nice. So I was there, and I ate some nice Chinese food, of course. And then I saw like something called uranai, which is like a fortune telling. So they have these like palm readers, and they have like 4 professional palm readers, and they are going to read your palm. So you show them your palm, and then they tell you things about you. So they tell you like, oh, like your personality is like this, or like, oh, your destiny is like this. Oh, you're gonna excel in this kind of work, or something like that. But I've never done something like this. Like, I don't believe in these things. I don't think that looking at a palm can tell you anything about your future, because I'm like like a science nerd. But I thought I'd try it. Okay, and it was only 500 yen, which is like $3.50 or something. So it's like, okay. So then I lined up. And there's 4 different fortune tellers. Okay, there's 4 different people working, and like 3 of them are like young Japanese ladies, and they're kind of pretty, right? But I wanted the guy in the back. Okay, there's one guy in the back, and he's like this old guy, and he's got like a white beard, and he's got some like white hair, and maybe his hair's not all there because he's wearing a hat to cover up most of his head. And I thought, okay, if there's one person that's been doing this for a long time, it's definitely that guy in the back. So I wanted that guy in the back to read my palm. And so what I did was I lined up, and they were like, okay, you can go over here. And I was like, no. I want that guy. I want that guy in the back. So they're like, okay, you got to wait a little bit longer. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. You got to wait for good things in life. So, all the good things, it's not short. You got to wait a long time. So like I waited in line for this guy. And then finally it was my turn. And then I show the guy my palm, and I was like, dude, tell me my destiny. Tell me. And then the first thing he says is like, oh, I can see that you are very good at like physical work. And then I was like, what? And the physical work is like, I'm thinking like construction, or like making things, like crafting things. And then I was like, that's not my job. And he's like, oh, no, sorry, not physical work. You're good at creative work. And at the time, like I had like a bunch of different jobs, and one of them was like playing Fortnite with kids. And then I was just thinking like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no creativity here. Like when I play Fortnite with the students and we speak English and do like a eikaiwa, like some kind of English practice, like there's no creativity. We just go and we shoot people. And then I tell them good job, and then like we try to talk in English. There's no creativity here. And then he was like, oh, no. Like what I meant is you are good at either kind of work. So you'd be good at like physical work or manual labor. So like, cleaning stuff, like cleaning the toilet. I am pretty good at cleaning the toilet, but it's not my job. And then it was like, and you're also good at creative stuff. So like if you're to like draw or like art or stuff like that. And then I was thinking like, no, dude, like I'm actually really, really bad at drawing. Like I've never met anybody who draws like as poorly as I do. Like anything that I draw, it's actually pretty bad. But anyways, I was playing along with it because I paid the full 500 yen and I wanted the full experience. So I was like, oh, wow, you're so right. Like everything he said, I was like, oh, wow, you're so right. You're so right. And he was pretty happy. He was like, oh, yeah, like I like it when the customer believes everything I say. And then next, he wanted to read my lifeline. So I asked him like, when am I going to die? Because I want to know when I'm going to die so that I can try to set up my life around it. Like if I'm going to die pretty young, then I better do all the stuff that I wanted to do as soon as possible. And if I'm going to live to be really, really old, then, I better make sure that I have enough money for a long retirement. And then, so the way that he reads it is he looks at your thumb and he looks at your pointer finger. And then in between those two, there's a line. Okay, so you can look at your own palm. Everybody has this. But in between your thumb and your pointer finger, there is a line, and this line runs across your palm, and it goes down to the middle of your wrist. Now, this is called your lifeline. And it's supposed to tell you how much life power you have, how much life energy you have. And if it's really long, that means you're going to live a long time. And if it's really short, that means you're probably going to die pretty soon. And so I asked the guy, I was like, oh, thank you so much for telling me about work. Thank you so much for telling me, like, you know so much. Now, can you tell me when I'm going to die? And he was like, and I kid you not, meaning like I'm not kidding at all. He pointed to my palm and he touched a bunch of different places and he said 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And then I was like, what? I didn't understand that. And then he was like, ah, and he sighed. And then he did it again. He took my palm and he touched like a bunch of different points and he said 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And then I was thinking, okay, so you're saying that like the answer to my question, when am I going to die? The answer is either 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. So basically, if I die between the age of 50 years old and 99 years old, then this guy guessed it. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's kashikoi na, that's pretty wise, like a good job, because there's a very high chance that that's correct. Like most people do die between the age of 50 and 99. But if I make it to 100 years old, then this guy's wrong. Then this guy's palm reading is false. But anyways, I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And it was just funny because like he said all those numbers so quickly, like he's done it a lot before. And then it made me laugh a little bit. And, up until now, I did a really good job of like always being like, oh, wow, yeah, that's amazing. And then like I was like, wait, what? When am I going to die? 56, 78. I was like, what does that mean? And then I laughed a little bit. And then he was kind of like, okay, so this is one of those guys. Like then he knew that I didn't really believe it. And, I tried to get back into it. I was like, oh, please, sir, tell me more. But, he wasn't really that into it. And then he tried to upsell me. So upselling is like where you try to sell something for more money. And he was like, okay, look, if you want more information, you got to pay up more money. So you only did 500 yen. So that's like, I can only give you the basic readings. But if you pay me 5,000 yen, I can tell you about your upcoming promotion at work. And then I was like, holy crap, my promotion, dude, I want to get promoted. And, but the funny thing is like, there were no promotions for any of my jobs. Like, I worked at like a language cafe and like I managed like some people and then like teaching the kids like while playing Fortnite, like there's no promotion there. So I don't know what kind of promotion he's talking about because my jobs didn't have any kind of promotions. Well, actually, because I was doing like a podcast, technically you could say that the promotion is like, I'm trying to advertise the podcast. Because in English, if you say promotion, it can mean a promotion at work or it can mean like a promotion as like kokoku, like to advertise something. And but I mean in Japanese it's a different word. So he definitely didn't know that I had like a podcast or anything like that. And then so I didn't want to pay that much money because I already paid 500 yen. So I was like, yeah, 5,000 yen, like that would be really nice because I definitely have a promotion coming up. That's a lie, by the way. I definitely don't have a promotion coming up. But I don't think I can afford 5,000 yen. And he was like, okay, don't worry about it. I'll give it to you for cheap. For 4,500 yen, I'll tell you about your next promotion. And then I was like, oh, whoa, wow, a discount. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, 4,500. I don't know. Like if it was like another 500 yen, I'd probably do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend another 4,500 yen to hear this guy make up stuff. But I had a really good time overall. So after that, then I didn't do it. And he tried to sell. He was like, "Oh, like, do you want to know about like who you're gonna marry? Do you want to know about your love fate and stuff like that?" And I was like, "No, dude, I'm not gonna pay you more money." But I did have a really good experience for that. So I say all this stuff, and it sounds like I'm making fun of the guy, but the guy gave me a lot of fun. Like I went into this thing, and I paid 500 yen, and I got a lot of entertainment. And now I have the story to tell you, and then also I have like my own ideas for like I should do some kind of like comedy thing where I always wanted to go on the street of Japan and then just give people free palm readings. But I've never studied how to palm read. I just had that one experience, and then I was thinking, like I can read people's palms and then like tell them like such generic things that it must be true. And then so like I'm imagining like I'll read a stranger's palm and I'll be like, "Oh, I can see how you're gonna die. I know how you're gonna die." And they're like, "Oh, how am I gonna die?" And I'll tell them, "Oh, you're gonna die, and I can't see all the details, but it looks like you're not breathing, and that's how you're gonna die. You're gonna stop breathing for some reason that I don't know. I can't see it." And they're gonna be like, "Well, of course, like when I die, then I'm not breathing." And I love this kind of idea. So thanks a lot to that old guy. Like if he's listening to this podcast, he's gonna be like my favorite listener ever. But that's my short little story about getting a uranai, getting my fortune told in Yokohama. And let's take a short little break here, and then I have one more story. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my little story about the uranai, about the fortune telling in Yokohama Chukagai. I would recommend that you check it out if you're ever in Japan and you like Chinese stuff. But now let me tell you a story about my pet rock. And I feel so stupid telling you that I had a pet rock, but I did have a pet rock when I was about 8 or 9. So let me tell you the full story. So when I was about 8 or 9, so this is about 3rd grade or so, I would walk home from school every day because my school is actually pretty close to my home. So if I just walk for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then I can get to school and I can also get back from school. And, of course, if it's like raining or something, then like probably my parents will come get me. But most days it didn't rain because I grew up in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's weather is pretty dry. So like most days I would walk home. And on the way home, I always took the same way home. I know it so well. Even after all these years, I'm pretty sure if I just went there, I would totally remember how to get there. But on the way home, I always took the same route. And there's like a road where cars go. And the road is for the cars. So you don't really, like you, meaning like people. So people like me, we don't really walk on the road. You leave that for the cars. We walk on the sidewalk. And on the sidewalk, sometimes there's like trash or like something, or like leaves or something. And once there was this rock, and the rock was about the size of, we just talked about it, but like my palm, about the size of my palm. So it's like a decently sized rock. It's not too small. It's not too big. And then I thought it was a pretty cool looking rock. So what did I do? When kids see stuff, like they just go and they kick it. So I went and I kicked it. And I can't really explain why, but as a kid, it just feels good to like kick stuff. So if there's trash, you kick it. If there's a stick, you kick it. If there's like a can of Sprite or a can of Coke that's empty, whatever, you go kick it. And then I saw this rock and I was like, oh, this is like fate for me. This is my destiny. I got to go kick it. So I went and I kicked the rock. And I always played this kind of like mini game with myself on my walk home, which is I kick the stuff, I kick the trash. And then, if it goes out of the way, so if it goes into the main road, like into the middle, I'm not going to go get it, forget it, like bye-bye. And then if I kick it and it goes off to the side, like into the grass or something, like I'm not going to go get it. Who cares? Bye-bye. So most of the times I kick something once or twice and then it disappears. But this rock was a special rock. And every time I kicked it, it would bounce and bounce, and it always would end up back on the sidewalk where I was going to go. So it's basically like, I kick it and it comes back to where I'm going to go anyways. So I never have to go pick it up. And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I did it a lot. Okay. I kicked it like once, I kicked it twice. I kicked it probably like 10, 15 times. And it always went back onto the sidewalk. Like sometimes it goes onto the road. And by the way, the road is like lower than the sidewalk. So once you go on the road, it's probably not going to bounce back onto the sidewalk. But this rock is a magic rock. So it would like hit the road and then it bounce back up and then it come back on the sidewalk. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So what did I do? I ended up taking this rock and it became my pet. I feel so stupid telling you that. But I had a pet rock, and it was on my desk for like a year. And I put it on like this little tray thing that I had. And then that rock was my lucky rock. And every time I needed some luck for something, I would like touch the rock, and then I'd close my eyes and I'd imagine, oh, let me get some of the luck coming out of this rock, and then I'll take it and I'll use it. So then I'd use the luck for like stupid things. Like if I played a game, like I used to play this Dragon Ball fighting game on the PlayStation 2. And then sometimes I want to get like some like good thing. Then before I hit confirm to like get it, I go to my room, I touch the rock, and I'm like, rock, give me good luck. And then I go back and then I go play Dragon Ball, and I'm like, come on, give me the good guy. And then, oh yeah, I got the good Goku, or I didn't get the good Goku, something like that. And then, there's other stuff too. So like I used to play piano. And then sometimes you have like a piano recital, which is like a piano performance. And then you have to go perform piano in front of a bunch of people, and I would be nervous. But before the performance, I touched the rock, and the rock's going to give me good luck. And the performance like usually went well. Like I don't think I've ever had a piano recital that went badly, maybe because of the lucky rock. And then, so like this rock was lucky and it was really nice. And actually, I don't think I told any of my family. I don't think I told anyone else in my family about it because I wanted the luck for myself. Like I didn't want other people to come and take the luck, and then there's no more luck for me. So the luck is just for me. Okay, I was the one who found it. I kicked it down the street, so I get to keep this rock. And then once I tried to use a lot of luck. Okay, so there's like this really big test, and the test had like 4 different parts. Okay, there's like the math part, the reading part, the science part, and the history part. And then I was like, oh no, I didn't really study for this test. So then I touched the rock. And by the way, this is like still 3rd grade. So I was like 9 years old, maybe 10 years old. And then I went to this test, and then I took the test, and it was a math part first. And math, I don't need luck. Okay, math is easy. So I passed the math section, no problem. And then I went to the reading section. And the reading section, I got like, I like barely didn't pass. I got an 88%, and you need a 90% to pass this test. And then, but, maybe because of the lucky rock, or maybe it didn't have anything to do with the lucky rock, but the person who was giving the test was like, oh, it's fine, 88, that's close enough. You can pass this one. And you can move on to the next section, which is science. And I was like, yeah, great, this is great. And then I went to the science section, and this test was like the hardest test I've ever taken in my life. Like, I don't think I've ever scored so poorly on a test. I remember there's this one question that was like, they have a picture of a plant, and then it's like a black and white picture of a plant, and they have a bunch of different parts of the plant, and it's circled. And then they're like, which part of the plant is this? And then they like circle some part of it. And I've always been pretty good at tests. And sometimes when you don't know the answer, especially if it's multiple choice, you just like pick one. You're like, you look at them, and then like maybe if you know that one of them is not the right answer, then you pick a different one. But I read all 4 choices on the question. It's like A, B, C, or D, and I don't know any of those. Like, they're all new words to me. It was like a different language. And then I was like, dude, I don't know what this is. So then you just like circle one and you skip it. And then at the end, like, they were like, oh, hey, Chris, like, you didn't pass because you got a 44%. And then like, the reading one was close. Okay. It's like 88%. Like, it's really close to passing. But the science, sorry, I'm just so embarrassed that I started coughing. But then I got a 44% on that science test. So then I like failed miserably. And this wasn't even like a test that I needed to pass. If I passed this test, then I would actually skip the 4th grade. And I didn't actually even want to skip the 4th grade. I don't even know why I was taking it. But I went home and I felt like a loser because I've never like failed a test before, right? So then I went home. And, I'm 9, I'm 10. So what do? I got to blame somebody. Okay. Somebody, whose fault is it that I failed this test? Okay. It's not mine. Okay. I'm 9 or I'm 10 years old. I don't blame myself. It's gotta be someone else's fault. And then I saw the rock and I'm like, it's your fault. You didn't give me enough luck. And, the truth is the rock, I think it actually did help me out because, I passed the reading section, which I should have failed. But I was mad, and then I was like, okay, it's the rock's fault. So you're the only reason why I failed. And so then I took the rock and then I threw it away. I didn't throw it away in the trash can. I like threw it away where I found it. So like I took it and then I like tossed it outside, like pretty close to where I found it. And I was thinking like, oh, this rock is out of luck. So this rock has no more good luck to give me. So anytime I try to get luck, instead I get bad luck. And that's why I failed the science exam. But actually looking back now, like I'm actually really glad that I didn't pass that test, because I actually think that most people, there's not really a reason to skip grades, especially like at a young age. Like it doesn't matter. So I think, if you're thinking about skipping a grade, or if you think like you want your kid to skip a grade, I don't know. I think you should definitely think about like what are the good versus the bad parts of it. But anyways, this podcast, it might have been running on for a while. So let's go ahead and end it here. And so today we talked about superstitions. And again, superstitions are like things where you believe can give you good luck or bad luck. So for example, my lucky rock, that's like a superstitious thing. Like I thought that touching the rock would give me good luck. And I thought that the rock was out of good luck, so then I threw it away. These are all like superstition. And there's no proof for it. Okay, so like there's no way for me to measure like, oh, like I see that when I do this, then I get good luck or I get bad luck, because these things are just impossible to measure. So we talked about superstitions, and remember, superstitions are not magic. Okay, so if there was some kind of magic thing where like I touch the rock and then I'm suddenly able to like fly or something, that's magic. Okay, that's different. That's not a superstition. But superstitions are always fun, and they always have like good, good introductions into culture or something like that. So I always like talking about superstitions. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. And as always, if you like it, you can share it or you can not share it, whatever, it's fine. Just make sure that you're enjoying your life. So with that, thank you, and we'll see you next time in Kuli English Podcast.